Hello, Troy Fisher here. I'm one of the real food enthusiasts for Pasture Lights, and I'm going to show you how to make frozen custard today. Now the ingredients we need for the frozen custard today is I'm going to use a half cup of organic cane sugar, to which I'm also going to sweeten it with 2 tablespoons of raw honey, whole Pasture Delights raw milk right here whole, and then I've got this unopened half gallon that, if you can see, still has the cream on top, and I'm going to make sure to not shake this up because we're going to use the cream off the top here. And then lastly, perhaps the most important thing for a custard is I'm going to be using half a dozen egg yolks. So I got some nice 7 Sons Pasture free range brown eggs. Alright, so what I've done is I've went ahead and I've taken the eggs and I've separated the yolks out, so all I have is the 6 egg yolks here. I went ahead and took that whole milk and I measured out 1.5 cups of whole milk. And I went ahead and took the sugar, or basically everything I'm going to use to sweeten it, so half cup of granulated sugar, organic, and 2 tablespoons of sugar, just so it's all
honey.
Or, sorry. 2 tablespoons of honey. So what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to go and take this whole milk and I'm going to go ahead and put it in my saucepan here and turn this on medium or so and start getting it heated up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this other unopened one here with the cream on top, and I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to very gingerly pour 1.5 cups of the cream off the top. Now we're just going to set this aside, so we're going to need this right now. We're going to need it just a little bit. I'm going to go and put it in the fridge to keep it cold. So one thing you might want to do, especially your first time learning, I've grabbed out a candy thermometer here, because it is kind of potentially easy to overheat the milk. While your milk's heating it up, stir it up periodically. I'm going to go ahead and take this vanilla bean right here. I'm going to go ahead and split it and scrape it out. So you can just use the edge of the knife to kind of scrape the insides. Just take it. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in here with the milk as it heats up. And just for good measure, I'm going to go ahead and take the husk and throw it in there as well too. Not going to hurt anything. We'll take it out at the end. Go ahead and take the other side and do the same thing to it. And just make sure that as the milk heats up that you stir it so that the bottom doesn't scald or it doesn't form a skin on the top. And you definitely don't want to boil it. Just get it to a simmering temperature. Like I said, 170, 175. Alright, so we've been heating the milk up here for a little bit and it's starting to get pretty hot. I'm going to go ahead and take our sugar and honey and I'm going to go ahead and dissolve it in the mixture as it heats up. So, the mixture should be still pretty close to the temperature that I'm looking at, so I'm going to go ahead and do what's called tempering the eggs. Especially because we got this hot mixture, what you can't do is you can't just take the egg yolks and directly put them in here, because what would happen is they would just scramble immediately. So we've kind of got to acclimate the eggs to a hotter environment. So I'm going to go ahead and take my egg yolks here and I'm going to whisk them up a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my ladle here. I'm going to take a nice big ladle full of my hot liquid, my hot milk and sugar and everything, and I'm going to whisk it into my egg yolks. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 ladlefuls. Again, this is called tempering the eggs. It's to keep them from scrambling as we combine all this together in the hot mixture. Alright, so now we kind of got the eggs getting a little warm themselves, and now we'll go ahead and whisk them into the entire mixture. And you'll notice too with one of the the things about custard is, especially with one using raw milk, which tends to have a nice more kind of cream color to it than regular milk, and using egg yolks, it does give it a nice rich yellow color as well. One of the main advantages of making a custard over just an ice cream is that the custard comes out with a much richer, creamier flavor. The custard making process, my understanding of it is it keeps the ice crystals that form in the frozen material smaller, so it gives it kind of a creamier texture to it. Where if you just make ice cream, it tends to have a kind of a more grainy texture to it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to heat this back up to 170, 175 range for a little bit. And what we're looking for is we're looking for it to thicken. A good way to tell whether it thickens is to see how well it coats the back of your spoon. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes. I've been stirring it here as it heats back up and kind of starts to thicken quite a bit. Again, a good way to look at it, you can kind of tell as it thickens as you're just stirring it, but you want it to make sure and coat the back of the spoon in such a way that it coats it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off. I'm going to take it off the heat. I'm going to go ahead and transfer it into another bowl, and we're going to put it into an ice bath. What we want to do is we want to cool it back down as quickly as possible. Now you will note I did use raw milk in this, and then I pretty much just pasteurized the milk in the process of making the custard, but that's custard making. So, but I am going to make sure that my liquid here is cool enough before I add the raw milk cream into it to make sure that keeps all the enzymes and bioavailable nutrients in it that are kind of part of the whole raw milk. Why I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and take my husks of my vanilla bean out. Okay, so it's cooled down. It's just a little bit warm still, but it's for the most part pretty cool at this point in time. So I'm going to go ahead and take that cup and a half of cream that I poured out from the top of that unhomogenized raw milk earlier. I'm going to go ahead and add it into this. And now what we need to do, depending on what kind of ice cream maker you're going to use, is we need to let this cool down as much as possible, because we don't want to even pour a slightly warm liquid into there to make sure that it all freezes properly. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and tape some plastic wrap, put over top of this, and go ahead and throw it in the refrigerator for about an hour and a half or 2 hours. Alright, it's been about 2 hours, and we're going to go ahead and start churning our frozen custard. I have a Cuisinart Pure Indulgence 2-quart ice cream maker. It's the kind that has this bowl that you throw in your freezer. They're pretty convenient. I'd highly recommend this kind. Go ahead and turn it on, and pour it in. And as with the best things, wait some more. So it takes about 25 minutes, half an hour. And it looks like the custard is fairly well frozen at this point in time. Now, depending on what kind of texture you want, right now it's probably about the consistency of what you'd expect in a typical soft serve. And if you wanted a harder consistency, what you want to do now is you want to go ahead and take it out and put it in another container and put it in your freezer for another hour or 2 hours, and it'll harden up some more. But I figure we're already coming up here about 3 hours, and I think I've waited enough. And I know you're going to want to keep this all to yourself because you did put a lot of work into it, and it is going to be very, very delicious. But I will say that desserts are always better if they're shared with a good friend. Until next time, I'm Troy Fisher.
I'm Carrie Carpenter.
And we're real food enthusiasts for Pasture Delights.